Hello, Margaret Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Danielle Helzer. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good, good. Thanks for having me.
So, we're actually at your store and
Yep.
having some awesome tea here
Yep.
and on a nice day. So Danielle, a little bit of background.
Yeah, I'll try to make it kind of brief.
Oh.
I've done a lot in my life. So I own this bookstore right here, Rooted Books and Gifts in Grand Island, Nebraska. We're downtown. We just opened at the end of August. So a little less than a year that we've been open.
Yeah.
Prior to that, though, I started my career, my adult life, as a high school English teacher.
Okay.
So I taught high school English in lots of different schools around Nebraska. I did some rural schools, like your Class D,
Oh, really?
class,
Wow. Okay.
really small out in southwest Nebraska.
Okay.
And then was in Ogallala for a few years.
Okay.
And then my husband and I decided we wanted some city experience. So we
Sure.
moved to Omaha.
Oh, wow. You've been around the state then. Okay.
Yeah, all along the I-80 corridor. We
Okay.
lived in Kearney at first.
Okay.
And I went to school at UNK.
Okay.
So we just kind of moved west.
You are just...
I-80, and then we moved east. And
Hey, you got to figure out which part of the state you like the best.
yeah,
here.
that's right. And I grew up in the northeast corner of Nebraska. So we really have lived pretty much everywhere. So we lived in Omaha, and I taught English at Gretna and at Burke High for Omaha Public Schools. And then my husband and I decided to become foster parents.
Cool.
We had a house with extra bedrooms, and we were like, I mean, why not?
Exactly.
So there were, when we lived in Omaha, we went to a foster workshop, like a foster training workshop, to learn more about it.
Okay.
And what really got us is they showed us the shelters where kids were living in because they didn't have foster homes for them.
Would be.
And the youngest kid was the age of our oldest niece at the time, and she's 7 years old. And I was like,
yeah,
like that, a little kid living in a shelter, like that can't be right.
I can't
and
imagine.
We had 2 bedrooms, and we're like, no, this is something we do.
Yeah, exactly.
So we became foster parents, and then that's when I left teaching full time.
Okay.
My husband was a teacher too, and so 2 teachers just does not make for a flexible
work
schedule.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's flexible, I loved teaching, loved being with high school kids, but it just wasn't a flexible job. So moved over to part-time work at some community colleges, doing some adjuncting and being a writing coach.
Really?
For writing centers. Yeah. So still
Very
working
cool.
with students and still working in the realm of writing.
Wow.
And then we moved to Grand Island about 10 years ago. And I started at Central Community College doing writing coach. In both the Grand Island and Hastings campus. And then I got a wild hair and decided I wanted to get another degree. And so
never stop learning. Awesome.
Right. I had already earned a master's in English, but I wanted to do something totally different. So my second master's was in social justice and theology.
Wow.
And I was really interested in the intersection between religion and justice.
Okay.
And what are those intersections? I think waking up a little bit, like having foster kids, waking up a little bit to the injustice that so many people in our communities experience.
Yes.
And teaching sort of opened the door to that for me too.
I can see that too.
Especially teaching in Omaha.
Yeah, I bet.
There was kids that just experienced things that just weren't fair. No kid should have experienced. So got that degree and then moved into the nonprofit world. I spent 8 years in the nonprofit sector, doing lots of different work. So with youth serving organizations and disability advocacy and racial justice, women's empowerment. And then I ran for office.
Do you sleep?
No, not very much. So I ran for office. I ran for State Board of Education in 2022 to 2023.
Okay.
And so State Board of Education, it had 17 counties, if I remember correctly. So it was huge. It was south. So I live in Grand Island. It included all the counties south to the Kansas border, and then up north, and then it hooked over to the Iowa border. So it had all the
that's a lot of territory.
All the tribal communities.
That would have been
the reservation communities. All of those were in the district that I ran for. It was a really eye-opening experience for me.
I bet.
I'd never run for office before. I had thought about it, of course, about running for office, but I was really kind of hoping that someone else would decide to run.
I can understand that thinking, yeah.
Because there was someone who filed.
Okay.
And I really hate it when you go to the ballot box and there's just one candidate and you don't have a choice.
Yes.
And so I wanted people in our district to have a choice. I really opposed the policies that the other candidate was running on. And so the very last filing day, I filed. And
awesome.
and then it was a rat race, for 9 months.
I bet. I can't even imagine.
Run for office. So I left work, and I did that full time.
I could see that.
Because I wanted to give it, the justice that it deserved.
Exactly.
And I tried to make it to every community and knock on doors and talk to people, and I met so many amazing people along the way. And so ran for office and did a year in nonprofit after that, and in between those, decided to open a bookstore. So
talking since we did the bookstore, so what was the thing that you always wanted to do a bookstore?
It's always been like a pipe dream for me. Like, I was a really, really bookish kid.
Okay.
Like the library was my second home. We lived in a small town, and so I could walk to the library, and I was always like schlepping back bags of books and staying up late at night. And our small town had when I was in junior high, our small town had a bookstore, and so I would go there like at the end of the week and spend a lot of time in bookstores. And it was never something that I thought I could do. It was just like, one of those things like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to own a bookstore?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be cool to do this? And, then eventually we were like,
yeah, why not?
Why not? There is no bookstore. There's no new bookstore. There's a used bookstore downtown here, but there hasn't been a new bookstore in Grand Island since 2015. So again, we waited to see if someone else would open one. Like maybe someone else.
It's supposed to be. It's you.
I guess so.
That is, and it's an awesome bookstore. And so how'd you come up with the name?
So really, we wanted before we opened the bookstore, my husband and I had lots of conversations about moving away from our community, moving back to Omaha, where we had moved from. And the reason why we had these conversations is because when I ran for office, if you're familiar at all with the social and political climate in 2022 around school board races, it was really, really tense. And running for office was a labor of love. It was not easy.
I bet not.
It was really difficult on our family. We had there was an incredible vitriolic smear campaign ran against me and and my kids. My kids were posted online, and
that's too bad.
Yeah, it was too bad. And we had experienced getting yelled at, walking down streets.
Wow. So you really had to be dedicated to keep going with that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And so, but by the time, the election was over, it was really this question of like, are we valued here? Do we really want to be in this community?
I can understand that thinking.
And it was rough. But then my husband, I almost lost him to cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
So he was only 40 years old.
Young.
And he was in Chicago on a work trip. And this was like 8 months after the election.
Okay.
And he had cardiac arrest and, was unconscious for a long period of time. And we ended up, doing about a month-long stay in Chicago in the hospital before we could go home. And our community, like the larger community, our community of people. So not just geographically Grand Island, but we felt so supported by our community. And I mean, we didn't have any medical bills to pay for by the time we came home.
Oh, that is a blessing.
Because people just rallied around us so much. And so that really got us thinking, right? Like, actually, we are valued, in our communities.
Yeah, that sure showed.
And we want to be able to create a space in Grand Island where people who feel like they are on the outside can be rooted in their community. And so, we don't want to have to pull up roots to go somewhere else.
Yes.
We want to be able to stay rooted in one community And we know that there are lots of other people like us, who hold values that are maybe opposite to what people in power hold.
Yep.
And we wanted this to be a space for all of us, to feel safe. And so whether that's, you hold different political values than the mainstream, or you speak a different language than the mainstream,
right, yes,
or, you're a different gender or sexuality, than the mainstream. We wanted a place where people on the outsides could be represented.
Yes.
And could be and feel rooted and have like this community and spaces for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like backstories, but that one's a really awesome backstory. Yeah. So no. So oh my gosh. So what was this building before it was a bookstore here?
This was so most recently it was an OfficeNet.
Okay.
Which was like I think internet provider and maybe computers and tech stuff that I'm not really aware of. So it was an OfficeNet, but back in the day, and I had this customer come in and tell me the story. So I'm trusting his story.
Sure. Yep.
But back in the day, this older guy came in and he walked through the front door and he's like, this used to be a pool hall.
Oh, really?
On this floor, there was a pool hall. Upstairs was like a ballroom and a dance hall.
Wow.
And
that's
then,
cool.
he was like, and downstairs, they ran occasional like underground poker rings.
Okay.
And so I was like, that's
got quite the history here.
Yeah. And he could like point out, he's like, the pool table's right over here. He's like, I used to come here with my dad when I was really little. This guy was probably in his 90s.
Okay.
And he was like, I used to, stand here and try to see above the pool table and play. And
that is so cool.
And there used to be like we're not far from where the old post office was.
Okay.
And it's right next to the train tracks. They've torn the building down, unfortunately. But I believe it was an original train station, like a train.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it makes sense, right? That you could get off the train and you could come here.
Right.
And,
it's
kind of a place to kill time and hang out. So.
No, I mean, so with the bookstore, how did you learn how to do a bookstore?
Oh, that is a great question. I still don't know.
Well, I can understand that. Kind of like
my mug says "always learning" because that's my life motto.
That's a good motto for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know anything 100%. How did I learn? Well, so Nicole in Hastings, who owns Bryant Books and Music.
Yep.
I talked with her a lot. She was really wonderful. Kind of helped me think through some of the higher level details. And then I started just like looking online, and I found the American Booksellers Association.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's great, right? There's like this national org that, does that.
Right.
And so falling through that rabbit hole, I'm really good at like rabbit holing,
So me too, yeah.
And I found the Professional Booksellers School.
Okay.
And they provide really affordable classes.
Nice.
For people owning a bookstore. So they literally had a class like bookselling 101.
Wow.
And I was like, that's perfect.
It
was like less than $200.
That is reasonable. Okay.
And if you're part of a regional association, the regional association will reimburse you for the class. And so I was like, well, I'll join a regional association.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of like how I learned the nuts and bolts of bookselling, is really through that, the American Booksellers Association, the regional or Midwest independent booksellers, and then Professional Bookseller School. So of course I had to do a lot of like thinking before that, in terms of like a business plan and figuring out how we're going to get the money to open this, because we don't have the money to do it. So
no, I know exactly. All the details and everything like that. So books, do you have a certain, books that you bring in, or do you, for people that have not been to your bookstore, what do you have in merchandise?
So we have all new books. We have a great used bookstore around the corner, and I never want to compete with them. And I want them to be able to do their thing and us to be able to do our thing. So ours are all new books. I do all the inventory. So it's just me.
Okay.
And what I really look for are, of course, we have some of the like new releases, bestsellers, but I really wanted to prioritize books that people aren't going to find at their Walmart or
I see what you mean.
Target, right? So we have to dig a little bit deeper than just the bestsellers. So I really wanted to elevate like female authors. I want to elevate people of color. I want to elevate stories that prioritize and center like justice and marginalized peoples. And so Yeah. And I also, really wanted to make sure that we have some books in multiple languages.
Very important for this community.
Yeah,
Yes.
our
Yes.
community is incredibly diverse and multilingual.
It is. Yes.
And so we have books in Spanish, we have children's books in Arabic, we have children's books in Somali.
Oh, wow.
I can order children's books in Karen.
Wow.
So I opened accounts with publishers first,
Sure.
that would
Okay.
allow me access to those kinds of books.
Okay.
And yeah, so, we also have I love children's books and picture books. So our picture books, of course, some of them are just fun,
Sure.
but all of them have some sort of really important lesson, of how to be a good human,
yes.
how to be a good community member,
Amen.
How to be kind to people. So,
yes. And there's a lot of people that need that.
Yeah.
They need that book.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
So, so I have to ask, with the Dreamcatcher podcast, I always ask, what did you want to be when you were growing up? What was the dream when you were growing up?
First, a tornado chaser.
Tornado chaser. Okay. You go for big time. I mean, I can understand that. Tornadoes are kind of fascinating as long as they're not right here.
They're fascinating. And I think, honestly, the big appeal to being a tornado chaser for me, and my parents will laugh at this, is my dad is a weather freak.
Okay.
And was always no, you can't go out when it's hailing. You can't go out when it's a tornado. My husband and I got married in the peak of tornado season. He's like, why would you do that? He's always very cautious about the weather. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. So anything that they're be careful about this. I'm like, I'm going to go do it. I get my nose pierced and I get tattoos. So I think that was probably why I wanted to be a tornado chaser.
Okay.
But then after that, gosh, I had so many dreams when I was a little kid. And that was cool. The cool thing about my parents is that they let me just have all of these dreams, and they were never
really great.
Yeah, they were never oh no, that's not really all that pretty.
Not realistic. You need to find something that's going to make money, or
like this. So I wanted to be a tornado chaser. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an inventor. I would invent things all the time.
Okay.
I wanted to be. But really, I think everything. I wanted to be a writer, a poet, an actor.
Wow, you did have a lot of them.
Yeah. But everything had sort of at the center was that entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. I think, right? So it's that creative spark. It's that sort of rebel spark. Okay. Of being the tornado chaser.
Yeah.
And it's always been like that, because even when I was teaching, I was always doing something that was kind of maybe going against the grain. Okay. Trying to hook students in a different way, and trying to bring different literature, different writing assignments to students that would hook them, that would increase their engagement, that would encourage them to come to school, that would encourage them to think about the world.
So important.
Yeah. So I've always had that sort of rebel entrepreneurial spirit, I guess.
So, okay. I got so many questions here. So, with writing, you said you did write. You do writing, and you do writing classes.
I haven't taught a writing class in a while. Okay, but yeah, I used to teach writing classes. I taught college. I taught teachers. I taught a writing across the curriculum class for teachers. Cool. Through UNO. I taught a writing class to veterans. To help them capture their stories, called Warrior Writers.
That I love. Yeah. That is so important too.
Yeah. So I did that here in Grand Island. Okay. It was really cool to be able to work with those humans.
I mean, the stories, I can't even imagine the stories they could.
Yeah. I had one guy here, he told the greatest story. He was a little kid when there was a Japanese POW camp in the middle of town over here.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's where the old Dodge School was.
Really?
Yep. There's a little historical memorial marker over there.
I'm gonna check that out.
It's across from the Liederkranz.
Okay.
And
no idea.
Yeah. So there was a Japanese POW camp, and this veteran talked about how when he was a little kid, he would go and he would trade comic books with people in the camp. Wow. And it was such a cool story. And then we had another woman in the class who, she wasn't a veteran, but she lived in Germany during World War II.
Okay.
And she talked about watching the Nazis seize art and burn it. And she remembers, the stories of the Nazis burning books and art and trying to eliminate any sort of aspect of people's stories.
Like they even existed.
It was such a cool class. It was phenomenal.
I mean, that would have been so great.
Yeah.
So have you always does writing come easy to you?
Yes.
It does.
I was writing poems all the time when I was little and demanding that everybody listen to me.
That sounds like a kid. Yeah.
You know, like stand on my staircase as the stairs were my stage, you
That
know,
works.
because I could be elevated above everyone. I was really tiny. But yeah, I've always been, you know, a writer. I was in theater and music in high school and college. So
you sing?
I do sing and I play guitar.
Okay.
And I've been slowly learning mandolin.
Really?
Very slowly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. I mean, you're what you do. So, for somebody that struggles like writing like I do, what would you suggest? Because I mean, writing is, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is a struggle.
I would say the best lesson that I ever had was from Ted Kuzer.
Okay.
He was our state poet laureate for a long time.
Okay.
And I went to a seminar once where he talked about making writing a daily habit. And he said, you know, like the hardest times for him to write was when he was a parent of young children.
I could see that.
And so he had no space, right? Like no quiet time, no quiet space. Like you don't have this like idyllic place to write.
Right.
So he got like a refrigerator cardboard box.
Okay.
And put it in his bedroom, and like that was his little writing space.
That's cool. I like that idea.
So it's the whole concept of like doing whatever you can to write every day. Even if it's just
kind of becomes
even
your
if it's
daily
just
habit,
200 words, you know. And that was something when I was teaching English, I had my students write every day. We opened every single class with a writing prompt, and students could write whatever they wanted, or they could write the prompt, you know, or they could just repeat the song lyrics that I was playing. They could write those down. But just the daily habit of writing the actual, something, you know,
the action of taking and writing something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And writing it, like I think it's really important now. Like, yes, we can type it, but I think there's something really powerful about putting pen to paper.
I do too.
And so getting in that daily habit of doing that.
And then people are like, well, that's old fashioned. It's like, no, I don't think it's old fashioned.
Well, and you know, even if it is, like that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's the process of just like slowing down and getting away from all the distraction.
Yes.
You know?
Because nobody's hardly living in the moment.
Right.
They're always to the next one, and everybody's in such a hurry. And it's like, you know, this is the only moment you have.
That's right. Yeah.
So, no, I mean, that is so. And so, do you teach now, or do you substitute?
I don't. Nope. I don't sub. I don't teach. I mean, I have children, so
that right there. That is true. Yes.
My husband's a high school principal.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yep. He's over at Grinnell Senior High, and no, I just run the store, but I do have, like, I have students coming in.
I can see that.
I have a band book club for high school students.
Okay.
And so, in a way, that feels a little bit like still getting to teach.
I can see that.
I have I have some partnerships with the Business Academy. So I have students coming here to sell their products. And so there's some of that like coaching and teaching.
Okay. Very nice.
Know? And then I also, through a partnership with Vocational Rehab here in Grand Island, I get students that need some work experience. They have disabilities. They need some work experience before they graduate from high school.
Sure.
And so I take on students here. And we really use it as a learning experience, right? And as an opportunity to like learn how to have a job.
Yeah, that talk about a win-win. That is very much.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, I mean, so what is next? What would you still like to do? I mean, in your spare time,
in my spare
which might be 1 second or a couple seconds.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, so my idea this morning that I've been running with is, I want to start a women in business group.
Okay.
For Grand Island, we have a lot of young female entrepreneurs.
Awesome.
And so I'd love to start a group for women in business, just a place where people can connect, share resources, learn from each other, elevate each other, support each other. And then I don't know after this. I mean, I really love doing this bookstore gig.
I can understand that.
And it's wonderful. I think maybe someday after my kids are gone, maybe a run for state legislature.
Awesome.
For the unicameral.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Like, I say that now. Sounds terrible, but
well, maybe you're just introducing yourself to the idea.
Yeah. So I love the unicameral. I'm a nerd, and I love the idea that we're the only state in the whole country that has
Nebraska,
a nonpartisan body, you know, and I
Yeah.
think that's really beautiful. And
I think so too.
I would love to fight to maintain that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then from there, I don't know. I mean, we'll see where the wind takes me. But probably something with a rebel spirit and entrepreneurial
One thing,
soul.
I can never see you retiring.
No. Oh,
I was gonna say, I just can't see you doing
saved up in retirement. So, I mean,
I can't, but I can't, even if you do that, I can't see you retiring.
No.
So,
and that was, you know, like thinking about my grandparents, like,
uh-huh.
you know, my grandparents, I know that they retired from their jobs, but they never retired. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
Always,
because some people retire and they do nothing.
And they do nothing, right?
Yeah.
But they were always working to build community. And I see that in myself. Like,
Awesome.
I have a little space in my basement where I have my sort of like photos of each set of my grandparents.
Cool. I love it.
And those are sort of like my guides and my inspirations, right? Because they were always, whether like my grandma on my dad's side was always like working to serve her family. And my grandparents on my mom's side were always working to serve the community. And so those are my two sort of guiding
Very,
posts.
very nice.
Yeah.
No, that is so awesome. So going back to banned books.
Yeah.
So since when does this country ban books, and who does that?
Yeah, well, authoritarian regimes, you know, ban books.
That's what I think of.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, so we have a long legacy in this country of trying to censor literature, unfortunately. And also it's been an unpopular movement. Every time I think it's happened, you see lots of pushback. You see lots of efforts to sort of squash this.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's happening now, like federally with like, you know, the Library of Congress, those sorts of positions, I think that's really scary, right? Because that's elevating book banning to a whole nother level.
Yes.
Or like censoring public media, you know, and defunding public media.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is, by taking the funding away.
It's censorship in a different form, and that's what really concerns me now. But it's, you know, it's a way for people to control narratives.
It is.
It's a way for people to erase identities. And, you know, whether we like it or not, and this was a hot topic when I ran for office, is like, well, I don't want my kids reading this. Okay, great. And I want my kids reading all the things.
Exactly,
you know?
yes.
So we have all kinds, right? We have all sorts. And really, like, the best way to sort of like manage this is to have these individual freedoms, right? And to encourage adults to read alongside kids.
Yes,
you know,
amen.
And help them understand all of these difficult concepts. It's what we do in our high school band book club.
Okay.
You know, these kids, so they pick a book every month, and they have picked some doozies.
Have they?
Yes. So they wanted to read Lolita, which was like banned in Russia. You know, I mean, and Lolita's a hard book. It's
really?
a tough. It's all. I won't do any spoiler alerts, but it's got tough concepts in it, and I was like, y'all want to read Lolita? Oh. Okay. You know, but the beauty of it was like they read it, they came back, they had all talked to their parents about it.
Okay.
You know, they had all processed the things with their parents. And then we got to process it even more with the support of an adult, right? Who has, you know, some lived experience, like, you know, some sort of knowledge, not a lot, but some, you know, still learning.
Yeah.
But, you know, we got to process it, and they got to process it together and make sense of this book. And and make sense of why these stories are important. Even if they might have felt uncomfortable reading them. Right. Like, they still got to find beauty in the literature, beauty in the language, right? They still got to find importance in some of the stories. And I think that is really amazing, you know?
It is. And I was looking at the list of banned books, and a lot of them are the ones they had just read in high school. And I graduated from Minden. And it's like, how did we go from being what we read in high school to that? Yeah. And they were great books.
Yes. I mean, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of Mice and Men.
I couldn't. Yeah, we read both of those. And it's just, I like both of those books.
Yeah, they're both great.
And that part scares me a little bit. It's just like I told my wife, it's like, I didn't think we were a country that banned books. Right. You know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we're not supposed to be.
No, I don't know. I just you wonder sometimes. Yeah. But I'm glad I'm glad you're having. So how long is this high school book club where the band book club's been going?
Gosh, when did we start? I think we started in January.
Oh, just recently then.
Yeah, we started in January. banned books is kind of one of my passions. Like we were featured right away when we opened. We were featured as a new bookstore on USA Today.
Okay.
Just for our work with banned books. We have an old gun safe in the store that we converted to a shelf, and we put banned books in the shelf. And so we have some signage that talks about like banned books and censorship and book challenges. And yeah, then in January, you know, I was like, why don't we do this one for high school students?
Right.
And we initially, it was like a pay, you know, it's $25, you get the book and you get a snack. I always had like a $5 option. So if students already had the book, they just pay for the snack.
Sure.
And then I had a free option, you know, so. But now I had put a donation link on our website for anybody who wants to donate so that students don't have to pay for any of it. And so we've accrued enough now that I don't even put a payment attached to it. So it's just any student that wants to join, they fill out very basic information. What's their name? You know,
just
essentially their phone number so I can contact them. And then they get a book and they get snacks. And they get a space, and now they're pretty much just doing it on their own. So like the last one, our last book club, they read A Brave New World. And I got them started. They sit over here in the center. I got them started, make sure they were fed, had snacks. And then I just kind of like came over here and sat and did my own thing and let them do it. They were amazing. They just took it away. And we have students coming from all over. We have a student coming from Friend, Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Once a month. We have a student coming from Hastings. We have kids from Grand Island, from the different schools in Grand Island. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, it's been a really, really cool thing. And we've had students just sort of like wander in and be like, hey, I heard you had a banned book club.
You know what you did? Yeah, I can see them doing it that way. Yes,
we do. And so, yeah, it's been really cool. And I mean, what better place we want kids to be safe and to be hanging out in really wholesome places. Like hanging out in a bookstore. That sounds pretty awesome to me.
Me too. Yeah. No, I love bookstores. I mean, you can get, and a great book.
Yeah.
So many people is like, well, I've really never read a book. It's like, then you're missing out because getting into a really good book is, I love reading in the wintertime, you know, and it's just like, I mean, time goes away.
It slows down. It totally ceases to exist when you are reading something beautiful.
It is very, very, it's so awesome. And I feel for anybody who doesn't really read.
Me too.
And I don't know, but with the people you associated with, at least in the Tri-City area and in Nebraska. So, so for the store, do you website where people can find what you have?
We have a website
and events that go on?
Yep. So it's just rootedbooksandgifts.com.
Okay.
We have a calendar right there on our homepage. It's a Google Calendar, so we just update it always about the events that we have going on. We have very active social media pages, and that's the best way to find like up-to-date current information. I usually post all of our new inventory and stock that we get in each day on our stories, so you can kind of see what we've got in. Yeah, we've got lots of plans. We've got an author coming on Saturday.
Nice.
A local author.
Okay, perfect.
And we've got another local author coming May 27th.
Okay.
And then this summer we have plans for book clubs, and we have another boozy book fair that we're doing.
I've heard those. Those are pretty good.
Those are really fun. We're doing this one outside this
Okay. Oh, well, that sounds even better.
Yeah, hoping to partner with a couple local businesses to have some food and some drinks and make it a whole thing.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So where are you located at in Grand Island?
Right. So we are located, our address is 315 North Locust.
Okay.
Now it's a new address, so it might be hard to find in your maps.
Oh, okay.
It's still like coming up. If you spell out north, then it's easier to find.
Okay.
But we are just like a block north of Daily Dose Coffee Shop, which is right there on 3rd Street on the corner. Another great female-owned business.
It is awesome. I was just there a little bit ago.
Yep. It's so good. And so we're just north of there. We're right across the street from the downtown office building, and we can see Amir Plaza where the Railside concerts are.
Okay.
Those start in the summer on Friday nights.
Nice.
And we get a straight shot to see the concerts right from our windows. And we've got parking lots all around us.
You do. You have a lot of free parking around here. So
much free parking.
That's awesome. Yeah. So your hours, is that vary per week, or is that kind of?
We have pretty consistent hours. When the weather is warm, so just not in January. We're 10 to 6, Tuesday through Friday.
Okay.
And then Saturdays we're open from, or you can come in. Sorry, UPS guy. Saturdays were open from 10 to 4.
Okay.
And then the first Friday, starting in June, the first Friday of every month, we open 1 to 9.
1 to 9. Okay.
Yeah,
With
so we
longer
vary it
days
up a
and
little
everything.
bit. Yeah,
Okay.
in the winter, we
Okay.
lower it down. We're only open noon to 6.
And
We got to get the streets clear.
With it getting dark early and everything else, too. So.
That's right.
So, and I have to, before we end the podcast, I got to tell you about, your assistant that's at the door sometimes.
I have a dog.
An awesome dog.
I have a shop dog. She's here most Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Saturdays, some occasional Saturdays.
Is she? Okay.
She's a 9 or 10-year-old Anatolian Shepherd.
Beautiful.
She's a shelter girl. We got her when she was 8 months old, and she is the sweetest dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she pretty much just sleeps. And she has a bed by the window, and she pretty much just sleeps there. But she loves to be pet, and she loves little kids. So she'll get up for any little kid. She really loves it. We have a kids' corner behind this brown shelf, and she loves it when kids lay down with her and read to her.
Oh, my God, bet.
She just lays her head in their lap, and she'll just kind of fall asleep. So
that is so awesome. Yeah, she is.
She's a great girl. I don't have her with me today, unfortunately.
Yeah. But no, the other day when I was here, she was working real hard.
Yeah. She sleeps upside down,
No, it's awesome. So Danielle, before we end the podcast, anything else you would like to share with the audience?
I just, there's so many great local indie bookstores in Nebraska. So find one in your community and really support it. We are so important to our communities. We're third spaces.
Yes.
And we're often havens for ideas, and we're havens for experiences, and for the, representing the lived experiences of other people.
Yes.
Havens for curiosity. So it's important that we're supported, by our communities. So find one.
Yes.
Each of us usually have like a map that has all the local
very cool map. It's an amazing map.
The Midwest. So
and there are, what is refreshing to see, there's a lot of books.
There's so many. Yeah.
And in this day and age, that's great.
There's really a resurgence.
Because everybody's like, bookstores, and it's like there are more than you realize, and me too. So. And hopefully, maybe someday I'll get you in the Tri-City, the three of you, as a podcast. So, if Nicole has her way of it, I think maybe. So, but well, Danielle, thank you for joining us on the Dreamcatcher podcast, and I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing what's going on here. So, so a banned book club for adults.
Maybe soon.
Let me know.
Stay tuned.
Okay, that sounds good. So we'll end it there. Thanks for everybody that joined us, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.